Smacking Off's livecast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
Smacking Off's livecast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
Smacking Off's livecast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
Smacking Off's livecast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
Smacking Off's livecast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
Smacking Off's live cast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
Smacking Off's live cast will be starting at 9 p.m. Eastern.
El livecast de Smacking Off comenzará a las 9 p.m., hora del este.
That's what I'm talking about. You can't let nobody else talk. He's over stumbling over a damn acronym.
It's like God with pussy testing, motherfucker.
And he was like, oh, you know, they'll never be no good. They're like Kentucky or some shit like that.
I'm curious to see where all
Get prepared to do a lot of scrolling.
So it's way on down there, right?
They're way down.
Smacking off the park. Hi.
What's up?
We're going to talk about on Smacking Off the podcast tonight. Basically, we're just going to do an hour-long apology for Alabama getting into the playoffs and Florida State not, and Georgia not getting into the playoffs. Everyone is losing their fucking minds right now.
No, they're mad.
Yeah.
Man, I just got off a thread, and this isn't even one of the groups. This is like a buddy of mine that's an Alabama fan. I think he's an Alabama grad, if I'm not mistaken. And the thread is loaded with Florida State fans, Auburn fans, Georgia fans, fans of every other fan base that is making a case why Florida State should have got in, why Georgia should have got in, and Alabama should not.
Damn.
I'm loving this. I am harder than Chinese arithmetic right now.
Sean Devine, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, Sean Devine is with us this evening. Sean Devine, who is a Notre Dame fan, who's also going to throw his hat in the ring too and discuss why Alabama should probably not be there either, right?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
I was the opposite.
I mean, you can give that person.
I could play devil's advocate for you, but it seems like everyone else on the internet right now is doing that. And
no, there's lots of devils out there, and they're advocating the fuck out of why Florida State, who look absolutely atrocious, in that game versus Louisville. Dr. Balls, your Kentucky Wildcats played Louisville beautifully. That probably should have had the same defensive plan that Florida State did. Florida State's defense looked amazing, and that was it.
Yeah, Louisville was a good team, but for a team to expect to go to the college football playoff, you've got to beat a team like Louisville decisively.
And look, if Florida State's offense looked as good as Florida State's defense did last night, then we could be definitely making the arguments that Florida State should be in. In fact, Florida State would have probably got in, right?
Yeah, but on the surface, you would think that, but they're saying they're not one of the best 4 teams in the country, and I agree that they're not one. Of the
Yeah,
best.
but if Florida State had came out and let's say they beat Louisville like 35-0 or 35-10 or some shit like that, and it was a more decisive victory, a very one-sided, practically the whole game, Florida State was in control, then that this could have swung the other way, maybe.
So how much of what I said did y'all hear? Because I believe the FSU people have gotten into the inner workings of StreamYard, and they booted me off.
Windstream.
Yeah, what happened?
Do you have Windstream internet? Because Dr. Balls pissed them off when he threw both fingers up and said, "Fuck you guys, I'm not working anymore."
So what's the last thing y'all heard me say?
I had it.
We didn't. We lost.
I just went away. And
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
think the last thing we
let's
heard was you
go
saying
ahead and
hello.
we have to give Doug the floor because Doug called this right out of the gate.
I mean, it
had
seemed
Alabama-
easy to me.
Go ahead.
It really did seem easy to me. Because I seen what the FSU thing was, and I knew the committee wasn't going to go for it because of what happened with TCU and Georgia last year. And it's happened a few times, actually. And
With Florida State, in fact,
yeah,
Yes, Florida State got crushed the last time they were in the CFP.
when they didn't belong and they were unbeaten.
and they were unbeaten, right? That was probably a better team than this team looks right now, though.
Yeah, Florida State has no business being in the top 10 playing the way that they did. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the rest of their season. Obviously,
I mean, they're doing everything they can do. I mean, they
neither,
can't really
neither
help
are
it.
the voters, but yeah, I mean, they won their game. They won the ACC championship, which this year I don't know exactly how much that's worth because the ACC is down.
I think it's probably the worst of the power conferences.
No, it's not probably. It's definitely
Yeah.
they are the worst out of the
trying to
Power
be-
Five.
Trying to be
But
somewhat nice, but yeah, you're right. It is the worst.
Now they got a stat though that looks good, and that is they've got a winning record against the SEC this year. But if you look at the games, it's not indicative of the two conferences.
No.
Which team?
Yeah.
Which teams are we talking here?
From
From the SEC?
I think did North Carolina beat South Carolina? Is that one of them?
That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, what's that worth?
Yeah, I mean it's worth what it's worth. It's not like they took the top of the conferences and pitted them against one another.
No.
It wasn't anything like that. FSU's resume. I mean, most years FSU probably would have got in even with the injury to Travis because there wouldn't have been another team sitting there. But there were so many teams this year. I mean, really, Ohio State and Georgia have arguments.
Yeah.
It's really the most amazing year I've ever seen, and it's damn the best proof we've seen that we've got to have more than 4 slots.
Yep.
Yeah.
And controversy.
It's funny
is good
that it
for college
happened
football.
in the last year that we have the 4. We'd been talking about it for years that we're going to get some chaos one of these years, and then it finally happened.
Oh yeah, and controversy is good for college football. It's built on it, It
And
always has been.
it's not as much to do with Alabama. Alabama was lucky in the fact that they had a date with the number 1 team in the country, and no other team had that. And that was luck. I mean, Bama was in the right conference. They had the right game. I mean, the bounce on championship weekend is a real thing, and it's definitely a real thing if you can knock off the number 1 team.
Absolutely. And I think you have to take into, and people go, well, we're only talking about this season. Georgia's on a 29-game winning streak.
And,
Was.
and that is massive pressure.
Was
When you're at 29 games, the
was.
chances every time you play a good team of you going down is getting higher and fucking higher.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I mean, that win by Alabama just means that much more because of all the things like you said, and the bounce to me was an extra bounce. But
I mean, the teams
I
are
have
pretty.
absolutely no problem with Alabama being in the playoff.
And again, it
They're
wasn't just
really good.
it wasn't a lethargic performance by Alabama. Alabama
No.
controlled that game.
Yeah.
So
They had no answer for Alabama on the line of scrimmage, and Jalen Milroe was dynamic.
and,
But as
and I
much
hate
as-
that. I hate
as
to
much
say
as-
it. I mean, it was definitely not the outcome of the Auburn game, which was decided in the final seconds of the game. This was a decisive contest against easily the number 1 team in the nation, I believe.
Yep.
Some people can argue Michigan, but Michigan cheated to get there, so fuck Michigan.
You know,
I'm sorry they did. You know,
as much
got
as
caught
Bama-
red-handed.
as much
I
as
kinda
Bama,
think-
as much as Bama controlled this game, though, Georgia still had a shot right up to the end. This was a good Georgia team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is an amazing Georgia team, and quite frankly, I wasn't convinced that Alabama was going to beat them until
No,
I
I
watched
wasn't.
the
I wasn't
game
either.
unfold.
I actually picked Georgia. I mean, I was sure that Alabama would get in if they beat Georgia, but the one thing I wasn't sure of is if Alabama
If they
could
beat
beat Georgia. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we answered all the questions that because there was a lot of question marks with Alabama at the beginning of the season, and man, after watching those first two games, did anybody think that we would be sitting here looking at Alabama in the playoffs?
That's
No.
unbelievable.
No,
17-7 South Florida. Anybody?
I was saying not after the South Florida game, but then,
No, the
That's-
South Florida game was probably the most important game that Alabama had this season because that really defined who Alabama wanted to be. And quite frankly, I really honestly, and the different people have different opinions about it, but I really believe that Nick Saban was trolling his fan base when he took Milroe out of that game.
I do too.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
fan
and then-
base was clamoring. Everybody was calling into the shows, and oh man, I can't believe this guy. And again, the come down from Tua and Bryce Young to Jalen Milroe at the very beginning of the season. I mean, of course there was going to be a little bit of drop off, and Milroe still played admirably in that Texas game. He was finding himself. He was finding his rhythm, and throughout the season, he's just gotten better and better and better.
I think it speaks to how, and he's still, to me, the best in the game, of how Nick Saban continually preaches getting better throughout the season. And you saw that. They just kept getting better and better and better each week. And to me, I would put three teams in a level. It'd be Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, and then I'd put the other teams kind of below them. No disrespect to Michigan and Washington, but I look at a Texas and Alabama and Georgia, and I feel like they have that sixth gear that the other ones don't have.
And I'm really hoping that we
Ohio
get that
State
rematch.
Ohio State used to be in that category, but they don't have a quarterback right now, so they're not in that category.
Now, as far as what the what the money interest and the TV people, what they wanted aside, I will say that the committee was pulling for three things, and as these things went down, and they had to reassess. This is how it went. First of all, they were pulling for an UGA win. That would have made their job really fucking easy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Georgia wins. You've got Georgia. You've got Michigan. You've got Texas, and you've got Florida State.
What about Washington?
Washington, because you'd have four unbeaten.
Sorry, I messed that up. You've got Michigan. You've got Washington. Sorry, Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State. That's what I meant to say. Okay, so that goes away earlier in the day. Then I think they were probably pulling. When did Texas play? Was that an early game? Yeah,
That was the early game. Yeah.
yeah. That, if Bama was going to beat Georgia, I think they would have preferred Texas to go ahead and go down, because I don't think they wanted to be the committee that left a undefeated Power 5 conference champion out.
It's just more.
And I don't blame them. I wouldn't have wanted to be part of that either.
Next year will be
Right.
12 teams.
But I mean,
Well, there's that saving grace that they can actually just say, look, here's an example of why we're moving to 12 slots.
Exactly.
but
at the
to
same
go back
time,
to the beginning, I think we all agreed, and in the bylaws of the CFP, it never says you had to be a conference champion, unbeaten. It just says the best four teams, and that the other part that's in there as well is they would take into consideration star player injuries. And
now I've had people tell me before, and I swear to God, they were dead serious. They were like, here's the criteria right here, and this is the number. They were ranking it, the stuff in importance. I said that criteria is not it's not weighted.
right.
They can
Absolutely,
scan through.
yeah.
They
And
can
they're
scan because they weren't going to box themselves into a corner like that.
yeah,
I'm
and
not saying that-
none of that criteria, none of it is a slam dunk, because quite frankly, a lot of that criteria is just to keep these little whiny bitches at bay. The main criteria that the committee's looking for is watchable games, a game that somebody's going to tune into and watch every single moment of, so they can sell advertising time for it.
But
Now, I know the
think-
committee's not directly involved in that, but man, come on, you can tell me that there are some industry folks guiding that situation into that corner.
Now, I would say that for the most part, that benefits the viewer. But sometimes what their idea of what's going to accomplish that is not exactly perfect. I mean, we've seen that.
TCU.
And I definitely, I don't know what they were thinking with TCU last year. If you look at the TCU Michigan game, then they should have been there. But I mean, you don't want a championship game with that much separation between the teams.
No.
I didn't really think that would happen. I thought it would be a better game than that, didn't y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I thought I thought that they would
happen.
also do better against Colorado at the beginning of the season too. So
Games happen,
Poor
but
TCU.
the overarching crux of the matter is the presidents of the universities empowered their conference commissioners when this thing all started, that everyone was down for it. So once you agree to it, you got to live with it. And now people want to move the goalposts, and it's just, sorry, you agreed to let this committee make the
and a
decision.
lot of those people that want to move the goalpost, quite frankly, because every single bit of the chitter chatter I'm seeing is just pure hatred of the Alabama walking back into the playoffs yet again. I'm sorry, but the committee is looking for the 4 best teams that are going to represent these playoffs year in and year out. And I'm not saying that the committee gets it absolutely right year in and year out, but that we're working off of the same metrics that we've been working off of since this whole thing started.
But
Nick
Saban,
go ahead.
Nick Saban's Alabama from 2018. I mean, they walked into the championship game and they got blew out by Clemson. So it
happened.
Alabama, it's happened to Alabama, and that's not. They don't want that, but I think Alabama and Clemson was closer that year. The score didn't really. It wasn't like TCU and Georgia, but it was a lopsided score, and it can still happen even if you get the teams lined up well. You can still have a team that just, for whatever reason, they just
have an
lose
off
control.
week. They have an off day. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
It happens.
You don't expect a
it's a
Saban
college
team to do that, but we see that Saban that can even happen to Saban, so it can happen to anybody.
Yeah,
But
I agree. So, but no, I think they got it right. I thought I had the 4 teams right last night. I just had the order a little wrong.
I didn't really feel. I felt like they kept Alabama at 8 for a reason, and a lot of people, once the second to the last poll that came out, when Alabama didn't move up any, most of the haters and just people that didn't want to see Alabama in there, they were all like, "This is an indicator right here." I said, "Here's your indicator. If they didn't want Alabama to get in, but beating Georgia, they would have moved Georgia down." I don't think they wanted Alabama. I don't think they wanted a 2-loss Alabama team being the first team out, because the problem is you move them up to 5 or something like that, and then they lose to Georgia, they're probably not going to drop. And then you're going to have people, even though you didn't put Alabama in the playoffs because they didn't win when they needed to, you're going to have people saying, "See, we got Bama bias even when they don't get in the playoffs." I think they decided this team is going to they're either going to beat Georgia and get in, or they're going to finish at 8th, maybe, as low as 10th. They probably wouldn't have dropped if they'd have lost a close game to Georgia.
Yeah.
They're probably staying at 8th. I don't think they wanted any part of Alabama hanging around that first team out. And I don't think they really believed Alabama was going to beat Georgia. I really didn't believe it. So I don't think.
But did anybody really think that Florida State was going to look as trash as they did?
I did, because Travis was an awesome fucking player. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, you can't.
Once they moved to yesterday, Didn't they start their third string quarterback? I mean,
They
I knew
did.
that was.
They did.
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm not trying to hate on them, but at the same time, you have to make certain adjustments, particularly when you're playing. And, Louisville's a good team, don't get me wrong, but the separation that was supposed to be between Florida State, undefeated Florida State, at the top of the polls there, versus Louisville, which, has had a couple hiccups through the season. I mean, that was a trash game.
Those boys were playing their asses off, though.
And they were, that's again. I can't stress this enough. That's why the committee watched that game. They watched the same game I did, and they all shrugged their shoulders like, no, I don't know. And then they started looking at the other teams that they're going to be facing in the playoffs, and TCU part 2. Yet another. When Clemson got blew out, or when Ohio State got blew out. In years past.
Guys,
nobody wants to see those games. I mean, those games are boring, and people are tuning out of those games before they're over with. That's a tough sell for advertisers.
Yep.
Speaking of advertisers, let's check out the Bones Coffee Girl. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Sound the alarms. Something monstrously merry is coming to town. Introducing Bones Coffee's newest batch. Inspired by the giddy ghouls of Disney Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Nice work, Bones Caddy. Rich premium coffee infused with frighteningly festive flavors. The Pumpkin King, Santa Jack, Frog's Breath, Rough Weather, and Mudslide Boogie. Can't make decisions by yourself? Order them all. Bones also makes a perfectly marvelous gift for everyone on your nice list.
And your naughty list.
Click the link to get these hauntingly holly jolly flavors delivered right to your door. And it's not just for holidays. Bones has coffee concoctions for all 365 days of the year. Bones Coffee and Disney Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's terrifyingly tasty. This year, Bones Coffee will be yours!
Just as hot as the last time I seen her, right? Sean, did you get a look at her?
No, I'm sorry. I was looking at the Sunday night game.
God damn it.
You're infatuated with this Bones Coffee Girl.
She's pretty fucking hot.
She is pretty hot.
I actually seen her in another commercial last night on regular TV, so she's getting popular.
She's pretty
don't
hot.
Don't ask me what it was for. I don't remember.
She's pretty hot, but she ain't got nothing on the girl from Mad Men, the redheaded girl.
Oh, you talking about what's her name?
Whatever her name is, that's what a woman. That's what ought to look like.
What is her name? That's gonna mess with me now. I know Christina something or another.
Yes.
She is. Oh man, she's smoking.
Yeah, that's she's got it all. I mean,
yeah, it's a good show. I like that show.
I did too. I enjoyed it.
I really liked. I like Don Draper's wife. I feel like she kind of got screwed on that whole deal. She died of cancer. She had the cancer.
It was awful.
Have you watched the whole entire series?
No, but I watched a lot of it.
But you do know she died of cancer. I didn't spoil anything for you.
What series was it, Shannon?
Mad Men.
Yeah, that's a great series.
That it really is.
Yeah.
You ever watch Mad Men, Doug?
I have not.
Never give it a day in court. It's pretty good.
So
it's dramatic. I think
if I want to watch this, how do I watch this?
Man, you know how to watch stuff. Come on now.
No, I mean, if I want to do it the legal way, how do I?
You don't.
No. That's what I want to know.
You go buy the DVDs. You pay money to the people.
No. You can stream it on AMC app.
Okay.
I'll send you a couple links, Doug.
Well, I mean, I've got AMC through. We got Sling right now. I believe I got AMC.
Should be able to just go into the AMC app.
I could actually just go in there and start adding it to my to my recordings.
Maybe.
Sorry, I forget what they call that. That shit originated during the cable craze, so I forget what they call it. DVR. Sorry.
I actually had all the DVDs, but so I paid the money, so I don't feel bad for streaming it for free now.
So let's talk about some of these bowl games before we talk about these matchups, because there's some interesting bowl games. And
Auburn versus Maryland. I'm
really excited about that. Where's that at?
Music City Bowl. Nashville.
I guess that's better than Birmingham Bowl, right?
Yeah, that's a whole lot better than the Birmingham Bowl. You been to Legion Field anytime recently?
Is that in Legion Field or is that in the UAB Stadium?
The Birmingham Bowl. Did they move that to the what is that? Protective Life Stadium?
I believe.
Yeah, it's in the new one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's a nice stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know who's in the Birmingham Bowl yet. I haven't looked that far down the list.
So
That's
how
like what the eighth ranked SEC team.
It's Duke and Troy in the Birmingham Bowl.
Oh, now wait a minute. Now Troy's balling right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Troy is going to win that game.
2.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Bob?
I said, how old was Legion Field?
Too fucking old. It's about to.
150 years old or some shit.
Yeah, you don't want to get up in the high seats. Let's just put it like that.
I don't think they'll let you up there anymore. I think the whole stadium will fall down.
When you do the wave in there, the stadium does the wave as well.
Yeah.
Damn it, Jim.
No, it literally the old gray ladies. What about God? Right at 100 years or so.
I think they would tear it down, but that's costly as fuck too. For this
yeah, but I mean they could sell all that scrap. That's iron.
Yeah.
Scrap iron's going for a little money right now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
that ain't no aluminum can money. That's
the most intriguing game that I've seen is they went ahead and matched up number 5 and number 6, and you've got fucking Georgia and FSU, and they're giving FSU a chance right now. In that game, they're giving FSU a chance to prove everybody fucking wrong, right?
What's the line on that game? Like
Georgia's favored
like
over 10. Over 10, I don't remember.
Yeah, I would figure that would be almost a 3 possession.
Sean, do you know that line?
I don't. I'm looking it up though right now.
Okay, it's pretty. It's not. It's definitely under 20, but it's over 10. I don't remember right offhand.
Where's Justin Pike when you need him?
You know, FSU's defense is playing just like their quarterback getting lost didn't hurt them at all, and it's true. I mean, FSU's defense is good; they're really good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But so is Iowa's. Yeah. So you see what Michigan did to Iowa.
Yeah, they did.
Hell yeah.
Which would have been what they would have done to Florida State had that match.
I think FSU's offense last night looked very similar to Iowa's.
Yes.
They're having a hard time passing the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sean, you told me Louisville was going to beat Florida State, and I didn't bank on it. I really didn't know if it mattered. I think that FSU would have had to really kill Louisville to make it matter, because they were looking at this whole lack of Jordan Travis thing, and it was looking exactly like you would expect it to look, and it didn't look like Ohio State from 14. Let's just put it like that.
Nope.
Right. Yeah, I did think Louisville would win that game. Florida State squeaked out just enough points, but Louisville lost. They lost their way every time they seemed to get into the red zone.
That's the one thing that really bothers me about this. And if I'm looking at this from just an unbiased perspective, I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm looking at this. The Florida State guys played their fucking asses off. Yep, they've got a problem on offense, a serious problem. They're not going to be able to probably overcome even by the bowl game. But that fucking defense was playing their asses off.
Yeah.
They have.
That's the only chance they were going to be able to get.
I think they have 2 or 3 guys that are projected first or second round on that defense. So, Verse is one of them.
But they're definitely for real. That defense is for real. Above any defense I've seen in the ACC this year.
Oh, absolutely. To answer your question, Doug, Georgia has opened as a 12-point favorite over.
Yeah, so that's not incredible. I would have pictured it been higher than that. I think they're maybe giving Florida State a little bit of credit for the fact that they've got so long to prepare for it. And I don't think Jordan Travis, there's no chance he's going to be back, is there?
Not that I've read.
Yeah, I haven't heard any. I mean, it was season ending. They're not saying anything about, well, he could be back in time for a playoff game. I'm not hearing anything like that. So,
and why risk his health for for a game that's outside the national championship?
So how about it was their third string that was playing last night.
Yeah.
What happened
the
to the
backup? That guy had a concussion, was out last night. He'll be back and will start the bowl.
So how much better did they look? They looked better with him, didn't they?
Better, but not like they did with Jordan Travis. It was a significant drop off.
Better to the tune of beating Georgia or losing to Georgia by less than 12 points.
They beat Florida. They had to come back.
Yeah.
With the backup, they beat Florida. I know they had to come back, but I mean, Georgia didn't totally dominate Florida. So I guess they're looking.
I would probably take Georgia to cover right now at 12.
Oh yeah, easily. In fact, I don't normally bet on football, but this feels like a really good bet. Like at least to drop a nickel on,
What's the other bowl games of note?
Kentucky and Clemson, the Gator Bowl.
Oh yeah,
and that's a.
I think it's going to be a fun game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's an interesting matchup because they are contrasting and where their talent at is contrasting. I think that Clemson has more talent overall, but where Kentucky does have talent, which is on both sides of the line and the linebackers, is going to be a problem for Clemson. So I believe it's going to be a low-scoring affair.
Definitely low-scoring affair. I agree with you, Bob. I think you guys are gonna have Ray Davis, right? He's opting out for the draft.
He's opting out, but Tom McClain, his replacement's pretty damn good.
Okay. I think the key is Kentucky's going to have to run the ball to be able to win that game because Clemson is very strong. Their secondary is very good. Their defense as a whole is not great, but their secondary is very good.
I don't think they're going to try it too much. I don't think they're going to challenge the corners at too much at Clemson. And also, Kentucky has one of the top corners in the nation. A lot of people overlook him. Number 23, Harris. I think he's got 7 interceptions on the year.
Yep. He's gonna. Is he draft eligible? Because I think he's going to get drafted highly.
Well, he's going to get drafted highly. They drafted that one guy that transferred from LSU highly, and this guy's better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be a low-scored affair and hard hitting, and they're going to smash Clemson in the mouth.
I think the first 1 to 20 probably wins that game.
Oh yeah,
that should be a really fun physical football game.
The battle of inept quarterbacks. So anyway, there's some other good games, but I love the 5-6 matchup myself, guys. And I'd like to see Georgia's going to be upset that they didn't meet their goals. I mean, they had a chance to be historic on the level of Oklahoma in the 1950s, and they blew it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know so much if they blew it. I think Alabama just played better than they did.
Oh, they did play better.
I mean, they controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Alabama could run the ball, and Georgia really couldn't. And Milroe made timely, smart passes, and to me, Carson Beck didn't quite have his A game, or I don't know what was up with him, but he was inaccurate. And their receivers were normally sure-handed, were dropping passes, and I think I even saw Brock Bowers dropping passes. That kind of shocked me. But no, I don't think Georgia. Just it was more Alabama being better that day than Georgia being bad. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
The excuses this morning have definitely been that Georgia.
I keep reading. I keep reading the excuses.
Alabama just they got lucky and paid the rest that whole bit.
Yeah, I'm not buying any of that silliness.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You can take this to the bank. If this game was going to be rigged through the refereeing, Georgia would have been the beneficiary because Georgia was the automatic as far as everybody could see. Oh, Georgia's in. All they got to do is win. So if the SEC is going to rig anything, they're going to rig it for Georgia because this could have went poorly.
I didn't think it was a poorly officiated game, to be honest with you. I thought it was fairly officiated. You guys have more.
There was missed.
You guys have more sort of skin in the game than I do, but I I thought it was a pretty fairly officiated contest.
There was a pass that Alabama called that you could argue may have been called incomplete.
The one where he
don't
caught his hands and then pinned it to the ground. So he
I
caught it
I don't know if there would have been enough to overturn the call on the field, but it's possible.
Well, look, we've talked about the two best teams in the SEC so ad nauseum tonight. Well, let's talk about the third best team in the SEC and the matchup that they have in the New Year's Six Bowl, and that's Missouri Tigers versus the Liberty Flames.
Oh shit!
No.
The Peach Bowl.
No, sir. The Missouri Tigers are playing the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl.
That's
right. Oh, okay. I'm looking at the wrong side. I'm looking at a projection side.
Yeah,
I'm
Oregon.
my bad. My bad.
Oregon is playing.
Oregon plays Liberty in the Fiesta.
That would be awesome to see Missouri play. But
I'm pretty sure that Nix is not playing. Nix is, but he's going ahead and ending his year.
Yeah, he's already signed an NFL contract by now, hadn't he?
And is Missouri the third? Because the Peach Bowl has Ole Miss playing Penn State.
Yeah, that's definitely a game. I've already heard about that one.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong side here. My bad. And this is I got to look for hours ago. Like this was hours ago. And
Missouri's had a great season, though. Even if I don't want to minimize anything Missouri did by their standards, that's a great season. And unlike a lot of the other teams in the East, Missouri's actually won the East and at least once and twice, and won the conference once. So Missouri, they were surprised, and I didn't think they would come out the way they did.
Now hold on. What conference did they win?
Did they win the SEC when the first year they got in it?
Nope.
They won the East. They won the East Division.
Yeah, they won the East, and they
lost.
They play Alabama the first year.
Yeah, they lost to Alabama, and then the next year they lost to
Auburn.
Auburn. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, but they have a little bit of history when they get close of doing well. But really, the truth of it is, their quarterback has been well lauded. But in the big games, he made the fatal mistake in both of the main games they lost.
I think it's going to be a great matchup with Ohio State. Missouri plays physical football. They aren't to be taken lightly. I would hope Ohio State isn't taking them lightly because Missouri's fired up. They are super excited to be in the Cotton Bowl. This is their first New Year's.
That's the only thing that I worry about for Ohio State, because I think they had very high expectations and it all went down the drain in one game, and you never know how that's going to affect a team. I think Ohio State's definitely. You get both of those teams at a neutral side at their best. I think Ohio State wins, but I don't know that Ohio State will be at their best. We'll just have to see on that.
Yeah, I mean, the two things you'll look like if we line them up right now today and they played with everybody, Ohio State's probably a 8 or 10 point favorite.
I would say Missouri is definitely a lot more excited about this game than Ohio State's going to be.
That's one criteria is the motivation for each team in the game, and then number two, we don't know for Ohio State who's going to not play in the game and opt out. I don't think anybody from Missouri is opting out.
That's really kind of a cover over the whole of all the bowls, is you don't know what any of that's going to be, and that's really what's changed in the last few years. You really can't predict because you don't know who the fuck's going to play at this point.
Which I think is absolutely ridiculous because you also have one last chance to show off to the NFL scouts, and I'm sure we're going to see some players.
Some people need that chance. Some people need that chance, and some don't. Some are taking a risk of losing the signing bonus, everything, by getting an injury in a mean nothing game. So
sure.
it's really difficult to judge, though. In a perfect world, everybody would be playing in the bowl game. But,
if I was ever lucky enough to have the money to be, like an NIL contributor, one of the clauses in the contract would be you're playing the bowl game. You start as a team in training camp in August, and you finish as a team whenever your last game is. And if that's a bowl game, unless you're hurt unless you're hurt, like Jordan Trainer, he's hurt, he's not even playing a bowl game. But if you're healthy physically, you will not opt out. You will play in your bowl game.
You would think that that would have already be a thing because these people are putting all this money into these players, and the bowl game, there's not a better freaking stage.
Yeah. I mean, football players play football games. That's
for these people to put their money into, and these advertisers, I mean, they got to get a return, and there's no better stage than a fucking bowl game.
Yeah. Doug, what are you doing for Christmas?
I'm just going to wait for Santa like I always do.
Well, I'd say that a couple days before Christmas, that Saturday before Christmas, we need to run down to Montgomery and watch Bujo coach in person one time.
What's going on? Who's he playing?
Arkansas State versus Northern Illinois in the Camellia Bowl.
Dude, get the fuck out of here. I am not going to Montgomery. Come on, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
Montgomery's a fun town. They got they got that don't they have a Buc-ee's on the way down? No, that's north. That's in Leeds.
We'll meet Define there at the airport.
Okay.
I'm bummed.
Bob, are you coming?
Yeah, I'm coming, man. Let's do it.
No, I'm bummed that one, they're playing the Camellia Bowl, which is in Montgomery, the same day and the same time as the Birmingham Bowl. What I want to do is come down to Alabama. I want to go see the Camellia Bowl at noon, and then have the Birmingham Bowl be at like 7 o'clock at night. Drive up to Birmingham after that game and do 2 games in one day.
That would be an experience, wouldn't it?
Right
Sean, in the heart of fucking Dixie, dude.
Sean, when you travel, do you travel armed?
No.
Because if we're going to Legion Field, you need to be strapped.
You remember they don't do that at Legion Field.
What?
They do that in Uptown Birmingham now.
Yeah, it's a
but I mean, still that. Well, yeah, I mean, it's they've kind of cleaned downtown up a little bit.
Yeah, Uptown.
I mean, I also don't anticipate the Birmingham Bowl being too rowdy this year with Troy and Duke. They're not fan bases known for rowdiness.
Troy's going to travel well for that one.
Troy will travel well, sure, but I mean, like,
I would have figured the whole university is probably going to be there.
I don't know how many from Duke will make the journey. Probably not a lot, especially if Duke is a basketball game.
So, guys, y'all take a nap, and we'll be back here in a minute.
Let's do it.
Always take care of you. Hey, little bear.
You gonna be a good boy?
Don't worry, darling, about the rest of our lives.
From this day
Through thick and thin,
Come on, baby.
I'll be there by your side.
Oh.
I'm gonna love you forever.
Hey, bear.
It's Halloween, and you forgot the candy.
Trick or treat!
Don't be spooked. Grubhub has you covered.
You look amazing!
It's Halloween, saved by Grubhub.
Guys, let's have some pizza!
So have we mentioned Notre Dame and what bowl game they're in?
Sean?
No, not yet. So before I get to that, though, we were talking, about the committee and this thing, and there were sort of ripple effects from it, and I think one of them was I don't know if you guys were watching or paying attention to the bowl game, the non-New Year's Six bowl games being released this afternoon. Clearly, the ACC thought Florida State was getting into the playoffs because then Florida State obviously gets put in the Orange Bowl. That threw a wrench in their plans because there was like an hour and a half delay of them having to reshuffle their deck, so to speak, and figure out, okay, because they had already had a pre-planned sort of position for their bowls, and then they had to change everything in the last minute. So
they're the ACC. They didn't know that their conference was trash this year.
I guess not.
I mean, shit.
It
must be
took
the
the better
no
part
The
of
U is not back.
You
I
know
mean,
what?
they're going bowling, but still, they're not back.
I really think in most seasons, this Florida State team would have probably got in.
I mean, maybe.
Sure.
So they will.
if you
Hey,
didn't have-
hey, now this was next year. Yeah, they would have definitely got in along
If you
with a
didn't
few
have
other teams.
if you didn't have 8 serious contenders vying for 4 spots, I think FSU gets in. The normal year, you typically it's not even exciting to watch the selection because you already know what the teams are.
But it took the
this
better
one was
part of
different.
an hour and a half for them to figure out where NC State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, because of the ACC tie-in to the Bulls, along with Miami, of where they were going. And so, like, we were one of the last Bulls released, and it was sort of like, well, we need a team to go play Oregon State in the Sun Bowl. Notre Dame, you guys want that one? It was like, okay, sure, So it was like one of the last Bulls released.
I didn't even realize I didn't realize y'all went to their bowl tie-ins.
Yeah, we
Do y'all automatically do that, or is that a call that y'all get to make?
They get to choose which one. Like, so if, like, for example, last year we got to utilize the Gator Bowl, which is one of theirs.
Utilize.
But then this year that one I don't think was available to us because we had already. It's like there's some sort of timeline. There's a time period attached to it. But I think they wanted to put us initially against Kansas State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and then last minute they said no, which is in Orlando. Yeah, it used to be the Buffalo. I think the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl.
Wasn't that the Sunshine Bowl?
For a while, it was the Camping World Trucks Bowl for a while. Yeah.
Do y'all share your do you share your revenues with them? See, I did.
For the bowl games, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into that further. So yeah, it was
like if y'all were like first team out or something, they still get to pick your bowl.
If we don't qualify for a New Year's Six, then yeah, we.
Okay, so if you qualify for a New Year's Six, it's business as usual for Notre Dame. They get to represent themselves.
Because the committee would just say Notre Dame, you're going to the Fiesta Bowl or Cotton Bowl or whatever.
Okay,
like,
so y'all not really worried about these lower tier bowls because it's
what the Sun Bowl is called this year?
The Tony the Tiger
Sun Bowl.
and you
not
and
Frosted
even
Flake
the,
Sun Bowl. It is the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Tony the
and
Tiger.
even the Sun Bowl, committee didn't. They got word last minute because they had like all the helmets lined up from the ACC, and the other team is Oregon State, but it's a Pac-12 tie-in last time because before the Pac-12 goes away, they didn't even have Notre Dame's helmet there available to put the guys were pulling the helmets of the so they pulled the Oregon State helmet, but they looked around like, well, we don't have the helmet, so here's a microphone. You can tell them. And the guy was just like, Notre Dame's going to play. It was quite comical. But Oregon State, it'll be interesting because they don't have a head coach. Jonathan Smith just took the Michigan State job, and I think DJ Uyunglele, who transferred there from Clemson, I don't think he's playing in the game, so they're going to need to utilize a backup quarterback. Notre Dame's had 9 or 10 guys, I think, hit the portal this week. So who knows what's going to happen.
So basically, we're looking for an Oregon State win in this one.
It wouldn't surprise me. Notre Dame's never beaten Oregon State.
That's what I was going to say. Don't y'all owe them one?
We do. Yeah. They beat us fair and square in the 2000 Fiesta Bowl when they had Ocho Cinco and TJ Houshmandzadeh. I mean, they crushed us. But then we lost the Insight Bowl in Tucson to them in 2004 after we had fired Tyrone Willingham as our head coach. So yeah, we're 0-2. That's the only Pac-12 school we don't have a winning record against. It's quite comical. And another year that Notre Dame gets an OSU that's in orange and black. We had Oklahoma State last year, and now we have Oregon State.
Well, what's your record against them?
Oregon State?
Yes.
0-2.
Oh,
I know we've only
okay.
played them in bowl games.
All right, it'll be 1-2 after this year.
You know, I think so. I mean, Notre Dame has a lot to play for, lots of things players to get some game action to get ready for next year. But it's
Now,
really
after then, it may be difficult for y'all to schedule them because what the fuck are they even doing after this?
so far the agreement is with the Pac-2 because they're keeping the name.
The Pac.
The Pac. They're not gonna call it the Pac-2, right?
They should.
They are so far.
That'd
The
be dank.
reports I'm reading.
I love it. The Pac-2.
That would be dank. The Pac-2. The only 2-team conference in America. I love it.
Conference and decision-making power.
If I'm
and
not
there's
mistaken,
an NCAA bylaw that allows a conference to exist without the mandatory minimum 8 members for 2 years. And just recently, Oregon State and Washington State, the two remaining members of that conference, have come to a scheduling agreement next year with the Mountain West Conference. So they'll get 7 games each with the Mountain West. And then they have to figure out
at the end of the year.
five other games to get to 12. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of Oregon State and Washington State after next year.
The good news is they'll probably be the 2 very best teams.
Yeah, they're the 2
West. So
2 odd men out that never found
my guess is they will have to. The Mountain West will have to absorb them because I don't see them building the pack back.
12-0 and ranked 21st. Yeah.
The Mountain West would just assume the Pac-12's name and take over.
The Mountain Pacific Conference.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying they just
still there?
become the Pac-12.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Pac Mountain. I love it.
Sean, can you hear us?
Sean Devine.
He can't hear us.
Oh well.
He must.
He left and he's going to come back in.
I can hear him. I can hear him.
Sounds like somebody's peeing.
All right, so
don't say that because I kind of need to pee right now.
Sean, can you hear us now?
And I'm not.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
I hear you.
That was StreamYard. FSU people are in here. They're fucking with us.
Yeah. Still salty.
So
I think the biggest snub of the day was 2-loss Oklahoma falling out, didn't get a New Year's Six game, and they go all the way down to the Alamo Bowl against Arizona. I was surprised by that.
Damn.
Shit's gonna hit the fan when Tim hears about this.
Well, I'd say
he already is perturbed by it.
Shit has already hit the fan, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, they should win that game. Should.
Yeah. I think so. I think Oklahoma will beat Arizona, especially if they're fired up as they appears to be on the internet.
Sean, I don't know if this will mean anything to you, but the dog father, Bruce Martinez, commented earlier, and he says, "Otis does my heart good." Laugh out loud. Does that mean anything to you?
For what?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what he's saying.
From Mayberry.
I don't know. He said, "Otis does my heart good." Laugh out loud.
He must be talking about
Does anybody know what he means?
Right. He's probably getting crunk.
Bruce, we don't know what you mean, Bruce. He's coming on Tuesday. He can explain it to us.
Yeah.
It's exciting for him and Washington getting to play Texas. I think that'll be a great game. I think they just recently played in the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting to get to. How do you feel like Washington matches up with Texas?
Washington wins that game. If Washington gets the ball last, they win that game. Penix proves if you give him the ball last, he wins. And so I feel Washington's a better team than Texas. I mean, that's what I've seen. I've seen both of them.
I don't know about that.
I think much telling on defense, but offensively, I don't believe Texas can stop them or will.
I think the big question. I don't know about that, Bob. I think the big question for Washington is if they can give Penix time. I think the defensive line they're going to see from Texas is probably one of the best in the nation. So
that's true.
Will Penix have time to throw the ball to his great receivers? You know, if they can provide protection, then I think it'll be very tough for Texas. Their defensive backfield with the great receivers Washington has, but if Penix is running for his life, it could be a long night for Washington. And plus, you know, there's going to be a lot of burnt orange there in New Orleans for that game. I don't know how well the purple faithful will travel from Seattle down to New Orleans for that game.
All right, so I've solved the mystery. Bruce says that I think it was the exit song on one of the commercials was Otis Redding.
Oh yeah, Dog of the Day. Yeah.
All right, Bruce.
But,
You don't have to.
I hope.
You don't have.
I hope it's a great game.
Bruce does not. You do not have to explain this to us on Tuesday now. Now that we know. Man, to me, if Texas gets by Washington, and I'm not saying Bama's going to get by Michigan, I don't know. This is a very interesting playoff. Both games are compelling. I think Texas has a good shot to win it all.
Absolutely.
I'm really impressed with how this team has looked, especially since they weathered their injuries and they got a lot of their players back late in the year. This is a good looking Texas team.
It really is. I mean, the last 2 weeks have been just, they've been very dominant, and they did what they needed to do against, inferior opponents. They beat them up real good.
Bob, you don't like Texas, do you?
Nah, I feel like cheaters never win, and they keep trying to make them relevant. My entire life, they've been trying to make Texas relevant, and the one time they were relevant, they had to cheat to do it. So I just don't love them. I don't have any love for them. But Sean is right. Their defensive line if it ain't the best in the country, it's one of it, and they're also great on the offensive line. And the only team really that I've seen that Washington played, because I've followed a few of Washington's games, that has the lines comparable to Texas is Oregon.
Yeah.
So
and Washington, they won both times against Oregon, and, but it was nip and tuck, in both those games. So,
yes.
If they can handle Texas, Texas on both sides of the line of scrimmage, they have a very good shot of winning. If they can't, then I think Texas probably wins by 10 or 12.
But here's where Washington does excite me, is when they have a chance to win, no matter how bad they've done the game, they somehow seem to score and win. And they've done it over and over again.
They're very resilient. This is one of the most resilient teams I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Every time I watch them, and every time I hear Washington's about to lose, and I jump over, and I have not watched a complete game by Washington, but every time I jump over, it seems like they do everything right when they have to.
I think, Kalen DeBoer has done a just incredible job as their coach. I mean, he has been, he's pushed all the right buttons at all the right times.
Absolutely.
So far they're 13-0, and the Pac-12 for it being its last year, man, what a great year for that conference. Which sort of had been down for a few years. It was a
what a swan song.
Yeah, I mean, if only they had probably done that a few more times over the last 10 years, it probably wouldn't be going away.
Yeah.
How about Michigan and Bama? How do we see this one?
I don't know what to make of it.
I don't either. I don't know. I swear to God, I don't have a feel for this Michigan thing, especially now that we're
Michigan
hearing
doesn't
that
have Alabama signs. Yeah,
that they were stealing signs, and since that was ended, which we think was ended. I mean, we know the one guy's gone. Michigan hasn't looked a whole lot different.
I'm going to say, well, they've looked a little bit different. There has been a little bit of drop off, particularly in offensive production. I don't know if one has anything to do with the other, because again, stealing signs would benefit the defense, obviously.
Well, their opponent, strength of opponent, kind of stepped up too around that time too.
It did, and they were actually playing real teams, because Michigan had a rather soft schedule to be walking into where they were at. And, a lot of folks would argue that Georgia kind of did too. Not as soft as Michigan's, but, softer than some Georgia teams have passed.
I really don't know what to make of this, though. I mean, Michigan is favored. Am I right?
Yeah, I think they are, which I'm quite shocked at, to be honest.
I'm not completely shocked by it, but I will say this, that there's going to be a lot of people tuning into this game that are decidedly not Alabama fans that will be grudgingly pulling for Alabama just because there's so much hate and vitriol for what Michigan has done this season, or at least what Michigan has got caught doing this season.
Weird role for Alabama, isn't it, Shannon?
It really is. You're going to have a lot of people that really have a lot of strong opinions about Alabama even being in this game. They're still going to pull for Alabama just because they want to see Michigan lose.
Michigan is opened as a 2-point favorite, so that doesn't.
That's damn near pick 'em.
Yeah, I expect it to be even for pretty quick.
Yeah,
I think it'll move to even, or even maybe Alabama gets favored as we get closer to kickoff. I personally like Alabama by 7 in this game, simply because they have one thing that Michigan hasn't seen all year, and that's a Jalen Milroe, a dynamic quarterback who can beat you with his legs and his arm. And in the two toughest games, Kyle McCord of Ohio State doesn't really threaten you with his legs, and his arm is inaccurate, and the same was true with Drew Aller of Penn State.
And this will easily be the best defense that Michigan has faced yet.
Absolutely. And to me, Alabama's already beaten Michigan in Georgia. Georgia and Michigan play a very similar style of football, except Georgia plays it better, and they have better athletes than Michigan.
Yeah.
That's why I like Alabama in this game. I really do.
All right, and one more I got to mention is because our good buddy Chris Scully is going to be definitely worried about this one. How about the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Ole Miss Rebels?
That's going to be a fun game, I think.
It is.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
pretty even matchup.
Penn State is going for? They're trying to become the first team to win all 6 of the New Year's 6 bowl games.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. They've won, Sugar Rose, Cotton, and Orange. They've never won the Peach Bowl, so this would add to their trophy case. But they're going to have a heck of a challenge in Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels, who have a lot to play for in this game.
They do. Quite frankly, if you look at the way that Ole Miss's season ended last year, there was a lot of chitter chatter about that, and Lane Kiffin would love to erase that and solidify them as a serious contender in the SEC West, which I think they've done a great job this year.
Sort of ended with a thud last year, did it not? After starting so hot as they did, I think they started.
Well, they lost the Egg Bowl, and then of course went on to lose, which is an Egg Bowl that they should have won.
Yes.
Kind of bittersweet on that one because that was, of course, Mike Leach's last game.
Yep. Yeah. So no, I think Ole Miss will be prepared. They'll be fired up, and we'll see. Penn State, had high hopes going into the season, and but it's centered around those 2 big games against.
Are you throwing the devil's horns, Bob?
And they didn't win either one.
Gene Simmons invented that.
No, he didn't. Dio did. Wait, Gene Simmons did it first, but what Gene Simmons was doing was not the devil horns.
No, he didn't.
Yay did. He didn't. I had a poster in '77 with him doing it, but it wasn't the same thing. What Gene was doing was the Spider-Man thing, where Spider-Man would shoot. Dio's was totally different.
Dio was doing it in '76 with Rainbow, though. Before then.
Oh, I didn't know that, but what I'm saying is the signs they were doing are different. Gene was going backwards, and Dio was facing the hand outward, and Gene was facing the hand toward him.
Yeah, Anton LaVey was doing it in '69, so y'all suck it.
No, and I'm sure somebody was doing it in the 16th century.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But we can't prove it because it wasn't on the internet.
Well, they hung all the witches then too.
No,
I owe a quick correction to the group. My apologies. I misread this. Birmingham Bowl is Troy again. I had Troy right. Troy against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech.
The Rambling Wreck.
Oh,
so now Birmingham.
I don't know. I think Troy should be able to handle that one. Should be able to.
Georgia Tech wins, right?
Perhaps.
Anybody?
They played the shit out of Georgia.
I think
don't think that was a fluke.
I think it's going to be a close
team's
game.
coming along. This program is vastly improved.
Yeah,
it's nice to see that they're taking football somewhat more seriously after 15 years of running the triple option and not trying to recruit
The way they
anyone.
do business, they're not going to win year in and year out. But this team, this program,
They should be better than what they were these last 10 years, which was
they can be average at worst and have a really good team at best all the time.
Yeah, they should be at least like 7-5. In a good year, could be 10-2, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think this program is definitely capable of that. We've seen it.
Versus years where they were what 2-10 and 3-9. You're like, come on,
some stuff that's hard to watch. And that Georgia Tech game on when Georgia Tech is good.
Well, they're in the ACC. That's a really tough conference.
And they took the starch out of Miami this year. That was great.
The U is not back.
No, they are not. I'm trying to look for, like some intrigue. I guess here's kind of an intriguing matchup that I like. And I know the bowl doesn't sound overly sexy. It's the Texas Bowl. But Oklahoma State against Texas A&M, I think, will be an intriguing game.
Oh, Texas A&M made a bowl game? Shit.
They did.
I should have read
Jimbo
the
will be fighting for his career. Oh, wait a minute. Jimbo. R.I.P. Jimbo. They need to bring him. They need to have some balls and bring him on as color commentary in that game.
Oh, my God.
That'd be great. That'd be fucking amazing.
Is there anything that we forgot
Coming out wearing an OSU jersey? Yeah.
that we should mention before we go off?
Oh,
Anybody?
I could go off at any time. Woo!
I mean, yeah, we talked about Jimbo losing his job, which is probably one of the greatest things that happened this season.
It's special.
We talked about Alabama getting in the playoffs. That was important. FSU not getting in the playoffs because they're a scrub team now.
You know what we didn't talk about?
What?
We didn't talk about. Do we give Maryland any sort of chance in the Music City Bowl against Auburn?
Yeah, well, that's where we started this bowl conversation was with the Auburn Maryland matchup there in the Music City Bowl. And
I think that'll be an entertaining.
Tua's little brother's still balling for. Is Tua's little brother going to play in this one, or is he entering?
He hasn't made a decision yet. I hope he plays.
He needs to.
Yeah.
Just because he needs some more eyes on him. I mean, I know he's put up some numbers, but come on, man.
And then a game I feel like we've seen every year. It feels like we get Iowa and Tennessee in the Citrus Bowl.
Oh.
Tell me we haven't seen that game like for the last. It feels like the last 10 years they're always playing each other in that bowl game.
Hell yeah.
That does seem like a familiar matchup.
It really does.
I've heard this marquee before.
Who wins that game, Doug?
I think Landon Beeman sent me. They should rename it the Sit Rust Bowl.
I think Tennessee can score 17. I think they can score 17, and that's just too much for Iowa to overcome.
Yeah. The question the bettors all want to know is, will Iowa still provide you that easy undercover?
Iowa's defense is so good that it wouldn't shock me if they handle Tennessee. It really wouldn't, because Tennessee it's really hard to pin those guys down this year. They're definitely not.
Yeah, they're slightly down. No two ways around it.
And Iowa does have an unbelievable. Holding Michigan to 26 points. It don't sound impressive, but in the modern era, that should be enough to win if you got an offense.
I completely. Their defense is just absolutely. It's incredible. It's a heck of a defense. It's but then you look at the offense, and it's offensively offensive is what it is.
Yeah, Michigan fans will tell you right now what offense.
You're right. It's vexing that a great head coach, and he is anybody that's been able to keep a job at a power program for I think over 20 seasons, like Kirk Ferentz. He's a great coach. Can figure out defense. The defense is always ready to go and can do its job quite well. But to not be able to figure out offense it's just really confusing is what Iowa is.
His son's the OC.
Guys, we have a question here from Nick Turner, who's listening right now. He wants to know what we think of Colorado and the players that are decommitting. I don't really know much about this. I have heard
Colorado's not in the bowl this year.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. As far as players decommitting, look, you're going to have some of that, particularly when you have the turnover that's going on in Colorado. You know, we saw this happen with what's his name? The one that just lost his job, Jimbo Fisher.
Jimbo Fisher in Texas A&M.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah, so Sean, do you know anything about? I mean, do we have an alarming number of
basically what's going to happen is Deion Sanders is going to be losing his job in a couple of years, I guess.
Well, I think Deion's a great recruiter. I think just there's a couple of things that I've scuttled about the internet here. One, obviously the losing record doesn't help, and not making a bowl game certainly doesn't help. So that's one. And then number two, a lot of these guys that are decommitting, I think were promised, maybe NIL deals, and that money fell through. And if you don't have the money,
money fell through because they only won 4 games.
You're right. So if there's no money for NIL,
y'all remember what Jerry Maguire said, right? Show me the money.
I think they're panicking a little bit early because I'm looking at it now. They're losing a 3-star quarterback in the 24 class, a 25 3-star running back, and a 25 4-star quarterback. So they're losing 3 players, 2 of them 3-star, 1 a 4-star that's decommitting. So that's really not that big a deal.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how Deion's going to respond to this, not only with recruiting, but what he's able to pick up in the transfer portal.
Deion's for real, man. If Deion has to, he'll suit up and he'll play himself.
Yeah, either that or he'll reach into his own pocket and come up with that NIL money. Yeah,
I think Colorado joining the Big 12 now is going to be great for Deion. I do. I think it's going to take. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but I think if he's there 4 or 5 years, I certainly think Colorado can get back to being probably in the new Big 12. They should be like one of the gold standards.
Oh yeah.
Well, guys, my parting shot is this: Florida State fans, we're sorry. It's not our fault.
We apologize. The Alabama Nation apologizes to you right now.
We were not on the committee.
Doug, real quick, didn't you tell me we were on maybe, whatever year we were on, and I think you mentioned many, many years ago when Florida State, Bowden had built them up, take on all comers, and they were an independent. And then finally, when they had decided to join a conference, didn't you tell me Bobby Bowden said, no, we're not going to have success in the SEC?
Yes.
I think at the time the SEC was open to having them join.
They were. He couldn't get them to commit. There's one thing he wanted at that point in this was the 80s.
Like 88, 89, right?
He wanted a commitment that they would not have to play Alabama and Auburn in the same season, and nobody would give him that commitment. That's what I've always heard.
No, he said on TV, I watched it. I think I'm the one that brought this up. He literally said on ESPN that he didn't think he could win a national championship in the SEC, and it wasn't to his advantage. And they invited both. Both Florida State and Miami. I think it was in '89 or '90, right before they went to 14 teams. They end up getting South Carolina and
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah, what a great trade that was.
Well, South Carolina, I think, is probably better than Miami right now.
I think at that point they were just trying to get to the point where they could have that championship game.
Yeah,
South Carolina is only better than Miami because of Spencer Rattler. You take Spencer Rattler out of the equation, and yeah, they're pretty awesome.
There is one thing now: Arkansas and South Carolina have both been to conference championship games.
Sure.
Yep.
And Missouri, Texas
of course, it
A&M.
took South Carolina. It took them by getting Steve Spurrier to get there.
Texas A&M, not so much.
Is A&M since joining us? They've never been to a conference title game, correct?
No, they ain't even sniffed one really.
And now that they ran Jimbo off, they never will.
Yeah, we don't know that, but they got more money than God over there, so you never know whether they're going to pull one out of their ass.
Elko's going to win the SEC championship. He's going to win the SEC West.
Yep.
I don't see it.
No.
All right, guys, I'm out.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Later.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for supporting Smacking Off the Podcast and College Football Dogs. And don't forget to stream in each Sunday evening for a live episode at 9 p.m. Eastern.